Hi everyone. In this video, we are going to deploy EJBCA as a CA with our Helm chart. We are going to go for a high available setup with 2 replicas. We are going to play around with P11NG sidecar with Soft HSM as a simulator. You can always use a proper HSM. We are going to deploy EJBCA Enterprise and going to play around with MariaDB Galera, which is a write replicated database. And finally, we are going to use load balancer for cluster external access through Nginx as a front proxy. You can also use Apache HTTPD too. So we are going to deploy in a local cluster based on microKTs. So microKTs is quite popular nowadays. You can easily find out more about this by going here. You can just install them with a snap package in Ubuntu. We need Metal LB to have load balancer and storage plugin for PVC or volume claims. So I have already installed microKTs and we already have a tutorial explaining these things, but let's see how these things look like in my environment. So we are going to see them by microKT status command. You can see Helm, Metal LB, storage plugin, all of these things are already installed. Matrix server is required if you are going to play around with HPA, but we consider that out of scope and jump on to creating a namespace for our CA deployment. Creating separate namespaces for different kinds of deployment, for an example, RA, VA allows you to create some isolation in Kubernetes, and also things like network policies become easy to define. So we are going to adhere to that best practice. Now that our namespace has been deployed, we will jump into the other prerequisites. So the first thing is like creating the image pool secrets with our Artifactory credentials. So for our Keyfactor Artifactory, you might have already have this credential. So please create this. I am going to skip because of the confidential nature of the token, but we already have a documentation page dedicated to this. You may also use your own private Artifactory for this thing, depending on your setup. Please make sure the credential and the email is according to the setup you are going for. Otherwise, we will have trouble while setting it up. So now we can actually get started. So first prerequisite we are going to do is to set up this write replicated database. First thing is to we need to make sure the credentials are set up and both MariaDB, the database, and EJBCA is aware of these credentials. Both of these as Kubernetes secrets. And in Helm chart, we are going to provide this. For this Bitnami MariaDB chart, we are going to use this existing secret. We are going to set the replica count to 2. Finally, the volume we will limit to 100 MB. Please keep in mind for production you need much bigger database. So please account for that in that case. And please note that you can always use a cloud hosted database. We are just going for a Kubernetes hosted database because we are going to go create a play setup where everyone can play around. So just keep that in mind. So now that everything is hopefully cleared up, so let's create these secrets. So we fire up the command, one down, and then another one. This one is for EJBCA, and I need to create a values YAML file for this, but I have already done this thing in here with the same content, so I'm going to just use that. Please create a new file for your setup. And now time for the Helm deployment command, Helm install. It takes a little bit of time for these 2 databases to spin up, and it's a stateful set, so we need to wait a little bit, but let's see and verify that this thing is actually deploying. So kubectl get all, And yes, the first pod is being deployed, and they are a stateful set with two pods in mind. So we will wait a little bit, and yeah, now everything is good to go. We have two pods deployed. So we also have a cluster IP service which we are going to use to configure EJBCA as a JDBC URL, but that will come later on. And we can also see the PVC is also in there. So now we can go ahead with our second prerequisite, that is the soft HSM setup. So first thing, notice that we are creating this config map which uses an internal trigger to create some key pairs. We are going to use P11ng CLI, which is a quite popular tool when you are interacting with HSMs in context of EJBCA. Please don't use it in a production setting, cause it's not recommended, but for playing around, this is the way we are going with. We are creating like 5 keys over here. We are going to use them as we create the CS, where we'll see much later on. But first, before going to that, just notice that the passwords and the key names, everything, and the key types, everything is defined over here. And this after init post sh is completely internal thing, so please just keep that in mind. So we are going to also create a mount in Helm chart later on, but for now let's fire up the command and create this config map. Okay, the config map is created, and finally we want these key pairs to be persisted, so that is why we are creating this PVC for Soft HSM2, so that you can always shut down your cluster or like Helm upgrade, so that nothing is kind of lost. So we fire up this command to create this PVC, and now I would say for this Soft HSM and this database, we are good to go with these prerequisites. So you can see the PVC is set up, config map is there. Okay, and this Soft HSM PVC will be in bound state when EJBCA is deployed. Finally, there is one more thing we should do, is to set up this database protection properties. So this allows signed audit log and integrity protected entries for all your database rows. So how we are going to do that? We are going to create another secret with this content. Here we say, hey, use PKCS 11ng crypto token, so the HSM key contents, and use the keys we have just set up. So for an example, this DB protection key, that is the thing we are putting over here. And then we are also going to put the password over here too, that we set up in here. So now we're going to fire up this command. Okay. Now we are done with all the prerequisite. In next video, we are going to deploy EJBCA for real.